Yo, what's up everybody, it's Victon here with my second League starter build guide for 3.19 Lakes of Carnage League, and this one is a fun one, the Flame Golem Elementalist. We've actually never done this build before. As a guide, I have played the build many leagues ago, back when Flame Golem was hype, but it got changed a little bit here and there, and it just wasn't as good as, for example, the other Golem builds like Carrion Golems, which was in the spotlight for quite a while. But now there have been changes to Flame Golem, and it actually got a pretty substantial buff. So we're actually going to talk about the changes to Flame Golem first, and then we're going to go over the path of building tree, the leveling up portion of it, as well as I'm going to go about talking to you guys on how to level the build in the first place, because we're not going to play Flame Golem obviously until you get it at level 34. You're going to have to do something a little bit different up until then. So basically I'm going to talk about how to level the build. And then from there, we're going to go over, obviously, all of the skill gems, and then we're going to talk about the items, and of course, I do have all of the trade links for you guys for every single item that you're going to need for this build, from the League Starter version all the way up to a couple of the in-game items. So, in general, I think this build is going to be fantastic, and here is why. So, Flame Golem got changed this league. Summon Flame Golem. Quality gem no longer grants here. I'm not going to read about the life stuff because it really doesn't matter. Let's skip down here. The Golem will now be able to use its mortar spell against targets in close range. So its mortar spell is the main damaging spell, and it's actually pretty crazy because you can shotgun with this thing, right? So if you use GMP, volley, all that sort of stuff, now that they're going to use it in close range, it's going to shotgun all of those little balls, and it's going to do so much damage. That was one of the reasons why Flame Golem wasn't that great before. It was because the AI was just not that great, and when it got in a close range, it wouldn't use its mortar spell, which was its highest damage skill, so it just wasn't that great. But now that you can use it, it uses it in close range, the AI is way better, and it's going to be doing significantly more consistent damage. Also, its mortar spell now has added damage effectiveness of 200%, previously 100%. That's crazy, guys. That's 100% increased. Really strong there. And as you know, I've been mentioning it in a couple of my other videos here, they've also buffed some of the ways that you can get added damage. So all of the ghastly eye jewels now do essentially double the rolls that they used to. So let's say if you got an added effectiveness or an added fire damage of, like, 25, it's now going to do an added of 50, right? So it's literally double. So pretty nice there. Its incinerate spell now has an added damage effectiveness of 80, previously 20, pretty nice there as well. Its cone spell now deals approximately 30% more damage at all levels and has an added damage effectiveness of 200% compared to 100% previously. And then base critical strike chance 5% used to be 10. Not a big deal there because we are not going critical strike chance. So yeah, as you can tell, guys, it's just a ton more damage, and the most important thing there was this. You can use its mortar skill against targets in close range. Actually crazy damage that we're going to be able to do since it shotguns. Cool. So that's the reason we're doing this build in the first place. Now let's go ahead and talk about the path of building. So the path of building is actually super simple. It's literally like you just go and take a line all the way down to the very end. It's super easy to level. It's got a mixture of, like, you get defensive nodes, then you get some offensive nodes, you get some offensive nodes and defensive nodes, and so it's kind of nice little leveling progression there. And as far as leveling progression, as I always do, you can come down here and you can check about how to actually level the build from level 1 all the way up to what we have here is the final League Starter version, which is level 94. And I do have clusters in here, but they're like super cheap clusters. We'll talk about it when we get to the items, but they're clusters you can craft yourself. The clusters will literally cost you like 10 to 15 KSE, so don't worry about the clusters there. So yeah, let's see what we have on the skill tree here. They've changed this node a little bit, Grave Intentions. I think it's still totally fine. The nice thing about this, though, which is pretty good for us, is minions have 20% increased maximum life as extra maximum energy shield. That's actually going to work really well with our renewal. Basically, it's going to make sure that they're almost always on maximum life, so they're going to get the full effect of that 10% added damage from renewal, which is pretty nice. So you're going to get that. It gives you a little bit of defenses for your minions as well. Minions have 8% to maximum L resistance, is pretty nice as well, because we are going to have things like some Spectres. We're going to have an Animate Guardian later in the build, and we're also going to have a Chaos Golem, so it helps them survive quite a bit. Pretty nice. And then we're, of course, going to get Golem Commander, which is the most important node of build. It's going to give me one extra Golem. In total, we're going to have 5 flame golems and one chaos golem. Sorry. Over here, it's nothing crazy, guys. It's you know, death attunement for +1 specter, some life nodes. They did reduce the amount of, well, basically they didn't reduce it, they removed the reservation mastery. If you guys remember, we used to get 15% there. That's just gone. So it's a little bit harder to get mana reservation on the tree now, and it's going to be kind of weird leveling up. It's not going to be like what it used to be. Basically, the difference with our reservation and our auras now is you're not going to be able to use skitterbots until probably later, when you are able to anoint champion of the cause. It's not too bad. It's only 1 golden oil, and then the teal and the crimson are super cheap, right? So it's really not too bad. It's not like charisma, which is double golden oil. Charisma is better, so if you can anoint charisma, you can do that. But this one is just, of course, a little bit cheaper, obviously, since this is a league start version. So kind of keep that in mind. But until you get either champion of the cause or charisma anointed on your amulet, don't use skitterbots. It's better to, we'll obviously talk about this in the skill gems, but it's better to go ahead and just use determination and anger. So keep that in mind. And then you get some damage nodes here, blah, blah, blah. You get some nodes over here for some damage. You get some life. This dexterity node is kind of important because we are a little bit short on dex in this build. As you can tell here, we need about 111 dexterity. So you are going to need to get dexterity on 1 piece of your gear, about 30. So not too bad, honestly, though. Not too bad. But yeah, the skill tree is very, very simple here. We are going Elementalist. Elementalist is just the main skill for golems. And the reason being, we are going to get Liege of the Primordial for +1 maximum number of golems. But this one is also pretty cool because its summoned golems are resummoned 4 seconds after being killed. So you never have to worry about resummoning your golems. It's super, super nice quality of life change, actually. It happened a couple leagues ago. From there, we're going to get Elemancer. This is your second node that you're going to get. This one is another +1 a maximum number of summoned golems. And golems are immune to elemental damage. 25% increase effect of your buff of your golems, and you got a little bit of the 100% increase effect of your golems here. That is really beneficial, really only for the Chaos Golem, but it's actually really nice for the Chaos Golem because the Chaos Golem is going to give us really good physical damage reduction. As you can see here, we're at a 90% capped physical damage reduction with the Chaos Golem. Let's turn that bad boy off and let's see what it does. It goes down to 79, so that's actually giving you 11% flat physical damage reduction. Really, really good there. And then the last nodes that you're going to get here, those are the 2 most important ones for sure. The third one that you're going to get is Mastermind of Discord. The reason we're going to get this is it's going to inflict an extra 25% fire resistance shred on the enemy, and we're going to be doing that by casting Wave of Conviction. And it kind of helps with your mana regen as well, although that's not really that important. And then the very last node that you're going to get for your Uber run is Bastion of Elements, which is always just a fantastic defensive. Basically what it is it's a Primal Aegis. It's like a shield, and that shield is going to give you roughly around 2,000, I think it's like between 2,000 and 2,400 elemental damage shield, and it refreshes every 4 seconds. So it's actually really, really nice for elemental defenses. Cool. That is the tree itself. Let's go ahead and move on over to the skills. For your Flame Golem, we are actually going to be using this in a staff here. We're going to be using Pledge of Hands. Pretty cool thing about Pledge of Hands, it is pretty cheap these recent few leagues. It's not too expensive, and you can use it as a 4-link, and it's already really good because it's basically instantly a 5-link. And once you get a 5-link, it's also really, really good because it's basically instantly a 6-link. So you can start using this pretty early on, and it's really not too expensive. So not too bad there. And if you guys don't know what Pledge of Hands does, basically, it allows you to use an extra Spell Echo, because you can like use Spell Echo right here, but it also comes with, supported by level 30, Greater Spell Echo. And what Greater Spell Echo does is it makes it cast even more, right? So the Spell Echo part, but also every additional cast of that Spell Echo increases the area of effect substantially. And it is a ton of area of effect. So it really helps with your clear speed. This is actually a really good clear speed build for mapping. And because it's shotguns, it's also a pretty decent bosser as well. So pretty cool using the Pledge of Hands there. Obviously, it sucks that we're not going to be able to use a shield or anything like that, but not too big of a deal. Because we do have pretty good defenses in general. This is like I said, about a 2 to 3 divine build, so not too bad for a league starter. And we're getting about almost 80,000 effective HP pool, and that's actually not considering the Primal Aegis shield that we get, so it's even more than that by quite a bit actually. So pretty good defenses, even though that we're using the staff there. Okay, so Flame Golem, level 21, you can actually get level 21 Flame Golem probably pretty cheap early on because there are divination cards for it. You don't have to worry about quality, so don't worry about that until later. It's really not a big deal, and honestly, it's not even that big of a deal, period, because it's a little bit of damage, right? 20%. From there, this is actually in order of importance as well. So Flame Golem, minion damage, spell echo, and I don't know if we want volley or greater multiple projectiles. We will have to check that. I think volley is going to be the answer, but we'll play around with it. We'll see if volley or greater multiple projectiles is the better one. I think volley. Those are that's your 4-link essentially as you're leveling up the build, and it's in order of not importance, but it's in order of like when you get the skills too. Because for a little bit you're not going to be able to use spell echo, right? You're going to have summon Flame Golem, you're going to have minion damage, and you get that at level 34, by the way. You're going to have volley, and then you're going to have controlled destruction. That'll actually be your 4-link until level 38, at which point you can go ahead and pick up spell echo in place of controlled destruction. And then once you get your 5-link, it's going to be controlled destruction, and then once you get your 6-link, it's going to be concentrated effect. So that is your links here for your golem. Moving on to what we have in our helmet, and it really doesn't matter if this is the helmet, boots, or gloves. We have Convocation, Molten Shell, Flame Dash, and Determination. Nothing too crazy there. Convocation, though, is pretty nice with this build because it's going to suck in all of your golems, and it's going to make them instantly start shooting again, so it is actually pretty helpful for this build. For our body armor, since we are using a 6-link staff, we do get to use another 6-link in our body armor, which is pretty cool. Basically what we're going to be doing here is summon Chaos Golem. Again, that is for really solid flat physical damage reduction. We're going to be doing Feeding Frenzy, Animate Guardian, and if you don't want to use an Animate Guardian, you can put in zombies here instead. It's up to you. You can probably do that until you get an Animate Guardian, but keep in mind your zombies aren't that great. They're going to die occasionally, and it's kind of just annoying, so I would personally probably just not do it until I get an Animate Guardian. We're going to have a separate video for the Animate Guardian, but long story short, it's very similar to past leagues. It's almost actually the exact same Animate Guardian that we use for the Skeleton Mage build, so you can check the most recent Animate Guardian video, and that'll actually be the one that we're using here. Race Spectres, we're going to be using 3 different race Spectres, and I'm going to have to put one of them in the comment section because I actually literally forgot what it's called, but I'll kind of explain it. We're definitely going to be using Arena Masters, right? Those are pretty good. Then we're also going to be using Pale Seraphims, and that is just for a little bit extra more damage multiplier. And then there's a 3rd Spectre that we're going to be using that I'm having a brain fart here, but it's like an arranged Spectre that shoots out arrows that reduce fire resistance on mobs. So I'm like not 100% sure, but I will absolutely find that out for you guys, and I will put in the comment section of this video. It's not a bad Spectre for sure. And then once you get your 4th Spectre, that's kind of personal preference. You can get maybe like a defensive one. You can either get like a They of Toll, or you can get the proximity shield ones, or there might be one that we find that is a new one, and I'll of course update that once I figure that out, what we might want to use for the 4th Spectre there. But we did lose the Spectres that we've previously had. The monkeys, right? The Host Chieftain, the Carnage Chieftain, they nerfed those heavily. Honestly, you probably could still use like a Carnage Chieftain. It's just not going to be as much damage as it used to be, but you might still use it because, you know, why not? It's just a little bit extra damage, so why not? Minion Life, Meat Shield, and you could either do Meat Shield or Culling Strike. I would actually put, until you get like an Animate Guardian set up, I would actually do Culling Strike, like in place of Animate Guardian. That's what I'm going to be doing, is Culling Strike in place of Animate Guardian. Helps you with a little bit of damage. So pretty nice little 6-link setup there. It makes them pretty tanky, both your Spectres and your Chaos Golem. So not too bad there. Moving on here, we have our debuffing skill. We have Wave of Conviction, Hex Touch, Flammability, and Combustion. So basically this is just going to be shredding a ton of resistances from the enemy that you're facing. A ton of shred. And also that Hex Touch Flammability is going to be cursing everybody with Flammability as well, which is pretty nice. Moving on here, we have our auras. So we're going to have Anger, Generosity, Summon Skitterbots, and I think we already talked about Determination up here, right? So we talked about Determination. Now, the reason we're going Anger instead of, say, Zealotry is because it got those crazy added effectiveness of flat damage. So we're gonna have to see if it's better. I think it's gonna be better than Zealotry, but we'll just have to see. So that one is to be determined on that one. And also POB is not up to date. Like the gems for Flame Golem is not up to date yet, so I can't check it. But I'm thinking Anger. If it's not Anger, then it's going to be Zealotry, so kind of keep that in mind. Enlighten here is only a level 2. Also keep that in mind. Don't get scared. It's a level 2 Enlighten, and it just helps out a little bit, right? We have decent amount of unreserved mana. If we take this off, it goes down to 86, so that's not too bad. But getting this is going to just make it feel a little bit more comfortable so that we're able to cast out those wave of convictions. It helps because we're not casting any like minion skill, because your flame golems are just, they do their own thing and then you never have to recast them. So the only thing you're really ever going to be casting is wave of conviction. And then this molten shell, which you do want to put on your left click, by the way, so every time you run around, it's going to be automatically casting it. And then occasionally you'll cast your convocation. So the mana's not too bad in this build. So that Enlighten 2 just kind of helps a little bit. So it's up to you. And that's the skills. It's pretty straightforward with the skills. Let's go ahead and move on over to the items. We already talked about the Pledge Hands. It is definitely best in slot, I think, for this build, both for clear speed and also for single target. Until you get a Pledge of Hands, honestly, you could technically use a wand like this, literally just like a +1 all level +1 all level of spell skill gems or fire skill gems, and then you could do like a shield, like a Lionized Remorse or something like that. But Pledge of Hands is honestly not too expensive. You're going to be able to get it probably by the time you reach like yellow maps or something like that. So you're going to get that pretty early on. For your helmet, it's going to look something like this. I had to put that last line in there as a custom modifier because it's not updated on POB yet, but it's going to look something like this: some life, some resist, and then +1 to level of all minion skill gems. That's actually a new modifier. If you guys remember, it used to be +1 to 3 of socketed minion skill gems. It is now changed, and it is now +1 to 2 of all minion skill gems. So pretty nice. So I think you're going to be able to get this +1 to level of minion skill gems pretty easy. I don't think it's going to be too bad, and that's going to affect all of your gems. So pretty cool there. For your body armor, we're going to be doing a brass dome as the like medium build item. It's just fantastic for defenses. Until you get that, of course, it's just going to be a tabula rasa. 20 chaos, throw a tabula rasa in there, easy peasy. And even if you didn't want to do that, you literally could even just like drop something over here. You could drop, you know, Culling Strike, you could drop your Animate Guardian, have like a 5-link, and you just get a beefy, you know, rare with life and resistances. I wouldn't get anything with resistances because it'll make it harder later when you switch to your Brass Dome. You'll have to like move your resistances around, but you could get something with like some nice life on it or something, some nice life and armor to kind of simulate a Brass Dome. But like if I was doing this build, I would just do like a tabula rasa, and then whenever I can, I'd go ahead and switch over to that brass dome. And remember that you don't have to have a 6-link brass dome. You could get a 4-link, a 5-link brass dome, and be totally fine. And on top of that, fusings are going to be so much cheaper this league, so you're going to be able to get a 5-link, 6-link super easy. So don't worry about that. But if you don't know, I guess I could really mention this really quick. With the Brass Dome, basically what it's going to do is you take no extra damage from critical strikes, which is super good for defenses in the first place. And then you're going to get a little bit extra of all maximum resistances. It actually rolls from 1 to 5. Keep in mind that divines are very expensive this league, so you're not going to be able to divine it most likely. You're going to have to just buy whatever you get. So it's probably going to be on average like +3 to all maximum elemental resistances, which is still pretty good. Still pretty good there. And on top of that, it gives you 4,000 armor. So very strong there. It's going to cap us out at around, I think we have like, yeah, 44, almost 45,000 armor from that. So very solid. For the gloves, all the rest of the gear I have in here is like super cheap. These gloves probably like 5 chaos, right? Some life, some resistances. And then there's an open prefix, so you can craft some minion damage. And if you want to use the Searing Exarch and the Eater of the Worlds implicit stuff there, you'd be looking for like minion damage implicits, like mark effectiveness, stuff like that. For your boots here, you're going to be wanting to do a very basic pair here: life, resistances, move speed. One good thing to know here is always try and have like an empty suffix, so that you can craft on some chaos res. If you do that for almost every one of your pieces, like you can kind of see I do this for almost all of them down here, it gets you capped to your capped chaos res much easier, because you can just equip an amethyst flask, and if you do that on your other items, you don't even have to get like flat chaos rolls on any of your gear, and you're almost capped already. So that's kind of like my strategy for how I cap chaos res early on in a league. For the rings here, do note that these are gold rings, but I only did that because we don't have the new bone rings in POB yet. You're actually going to want to get a bone ring. The reason we're going to get a bone ring is because it allows you to roll minion modifiers. So we're going to get some life, some resistances, and I guarantee it's going to have some type of damage on there. So like you can get like 30% damage, I think, pretty easily on the bone rings. So you're going to have 2 of those. Now, Darkness Enthroned, I think, is best in slot for almost all minion builds right now because of how much they increase the added effectiveness of flat damage on almost all the minion builds. Like I said, this went from 100% increased added effectiveness for flame golems up to 200%. That's crazy. So getting a Darkness Enthroned with like flat damage, so flat fire damage, is very strong. And if you can see here, minions deal 25 to 34 additional fire damage. That's the old tier 1 mod. It's actually double now. That's basically like a tier 4 mod now, and the old ones would be like, for example, 50 to 68 fire damage. That's crazy, guys. And on top of that, you're then multiplying that by Darkness Enthroned. It's so much flat damage. It's really strong. And obviously, if you can get like some life on there too, that would be fantastic. If you can't, just minions deal increased damage if you use minion skill recently is nice. I would suggest getting one of these like this. Minions have 8% chance to hinder enemies on hit with spells. Pretty nice. So with the Darkness Enthroned, it comes out to, I don't know, something like, 14% or something chance to hinder enemies on hit with spells. So pretty nice. And basically what that means is they're going to be having a slower action speed, right? So they're not going to be moving around as fast. So it's just a little bit of a decent damage boost, or I'm sorry, a defense boost here. For your jewels down here, this is a Golem build, so it's incredibly important to get these Golem jewels early on. The last few leagues, these have been super cheap. I'm not sure how many people are going to be playing Golems this league, but it really depends on like how many people play Golems, if they're cheap or not. The last few leagues, they've been like super cheap though, so I'm hoping that it stays like that and you guys don't have to spend too much. Like literally the last couple leagues, Anima Stone's been like 30 to 50 chaos, so super cheap. But yeah, Anima Stone, it gives you +1 a maximum number of golems flat, and then another +1 of some golems if you have 3 primordial jewels. So we're going to be stacking primordial harmonies. The reason we're doing that is because it is going to increase the cooldown recovery rate of that mortar skill that we've been talking about. So the more cooldown recovery rate you have on your golems, the more it's going to cast. Actually, cast speed for your minions does not affect that mortar spell skill. It's a little counterintuitive. You think it would, but it does not. So like flesh offering, all that stuff does not change the DPS. It is literally just increased cooldown recovery rate. And that's why we're stacking so many harmonies here. We do need 1 primordial might to make our golems aggressive. That is important. So what I do when I do these golem builds, I buy a primordial might first, just so you can get that aggressive tag to make your minions aggressive, and it just helps with your clear speed. From there, I'll buy harmony, and then I will make the Anima Stone myself to save a little bit of currency. In order to do that, you're going to want a Primordial Might, Primordial Harmony, and a Primordial Imminence, and you're going to sell it to a vendor, and out pops an Anima Stone. It's definitely going to save you some currency, so I would suggest you guys doing that yourself. Of course, you can purchase it, up front if you want. That's up to you as well. We already talked about the large clusters. You can literally get cheapo ones, like I even have on here, adds 9 passives. The added 8 passive ones are a little bit more expensive, but you don't even need that. This is a league starter. Honestly, spend half the currency and get a 9 passive, and it basically costs you an extra scale point, which is whatever. We can fix that later when we have a little bit more currency. And you get 2 of those, and literally the only thing that's important on there is renewal, which you can get just by alteration spamming it. Super easy. So yeah, so as you can see down here, I do want to mention this though. The full DPS is only 1 million, but that is very incorrect. For one, the Flame Golem gem is not updated in POB, so that's super incorrect right there. And on top of that, it doesn't calculate Flame Golem DPS very well in the first place. Because doing a bunch of research on Flame Golem builds, a lot of people were only having 1 to 2 million in-game DPS, but they're clearing Shaper Guardians, they're clearing Uber bosses, right? So the DPS calculations is it's not correct. I think this is more than enough damage to go all the way up to uber bosses, and then of course you want to upgrade your build a little bit to get some more damage. This is, like I said, super cheap, 2 to 3 divines, probably maybe even less than that to get all of this gear. It's super cheap, and I think the DPS is going to be really, really strong. And I think the AoE clear speed, like the map clear speed, is going to be really nice with Pledge of Hands. Okay, cool. Let's go over the calculations and the configure here. I've really done almost nothing over here. The only thing that we have here is, are your minions on full life? Of course they are, because of that renewal. And the main reason they're always on full life is because of Grave Intentions, because they're going to have a little bit extra maximum energy shield. Let's go back to configuration here. Feeding Frenzy is always, of course, going to be active. They are exposed to fire from that Wave of Conviction, and they're going to be ignited from us dealing damage as well. And that's literally it. Everything else is the exact same. We do have it checkmarked as a boss. So very accurate DPS, even though it's, you know, the DPS itself was not that accurate, but I just want to make sure you guys didn't see that there was no shenanigans going on. So let's go ahead and go back to the next part here. As I mentioned, always, we do include all of the trade links that you need for all of the items for your build. We have it in 2 different ways. We have a Google Doc that you can have access to, and we also have, holy macaroni, that was massive. And we also do have a better trading app extension that you can use on Google Chrome, and you can use on what I have here is Opera GX. I think it's on Firefox as well, but it has not been updated in quite a while. The link to download this will be in the description. It's super nice because it actually attaches right onto the POE Trade website. Basically what you're going to do here is you're going to open it up and you're going to go ahead and do import folder here, and then you're going to paste the pastebin code, and it's not the actual pastebin link, right? So you're not going to be like pastebin copy. You're actually going to go to the link that I have linked in the description of this video, and you're going to copy all the code in that. And you're going to come back over here and you're going to import it here, save it, and it's going to look like this. It'll say flame golems, and it'll have everything right here. And it's actually in order of importance of what you want to buy first, right? So Darkness Enthroned is what you want to buy first. Tabula Rasa is what you want to buy second. Your Abyssal Jewels, what you want to buy third. So it kind of helps out to know kind of what your progression is on how you actually buy all of your items. So, and if you want to, if you don't want to do this app extension, you can always just go to the Google Doc here, which is basically the same thing. It's going to tell you like your League Starter version, and then it's going to tell you like a little bit more expensive is this type of thing. It's going to give a little bit more information as well, like Kill All Bandits, Bad Map Mods, Snow Regen, and LA Reflect. Your major Pantheon is Brine King with Cannot Be Frozen. Your minor Pantheon is Albarath and Unaffected by Burning Ground. It's definitely designed as a mapper with a little bit of bossing as well. I think the bossing is probably going to be better than we expect because of the shotgunning and the mortar skill changes, but I didn't want to call it a bosser yet just because it's very new. But the mapping is going to be phenomenal. The Better POE trading link, I will put that in there here. You know what, let's actually just do it right now for you guys. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to go export share. It's going to be this, and I'm going to make a POE pastebin for it. You know what, I'll do it off stream, but it'll be right there for you. It'll be right there. The Animate Guardian Guide, once I put that, it'll be listed right there. The Spectres, 1 Arena Master, like I said, 1 Pale Seraphim, and that third one is the one that I don't know the name of, that I'll come back and I'll update it here. But that's everything that you need to know on this one here. It's got everything that you need. So in general, I think this is going to be a fantastic build. The only thing that is interesting that I think I should mention is, like I mentioned earlier, where is it, Flame Golem, it's level 34 skill, right? So you're not going to use it up until level 34. I do think that you can start using Flame Golem right at level 34, but what you're going to want to do is go ahead, you're going to have the Golem Commander node, so you're going to have +1, so I mean you'll have 2, and you're going to want to do your normal lab, right? So once you do your normal lab, you're going to have +1, you're going to have +2, and then you're going to have +3, and they get resummoned after being killed. So at normal lab, I think you can go ahead and switch over to Flame Golems, and I think it'll be pretty strong at that point. So keep that in mind. So until then, you're going to want to level as Absolution. I think that's the best leveling minion skill, and it transitions pretty well into this as well. It's just a solid leveling skill. You can also use Summon Raging Spirits if you want, if that's more of like a personal preference. But that's what I would do. And it's literally the same gems as well for Absolution, which is why I think that's pretty solid, right? So minion damage, control destruction, So kind of the same stuff, right? Concentrated effect, you could do that if you wanted, but it's the same type of gems, so it's a pretty easy transition. Just like once you get to level 34, swap it out, easy peasy. And if you're curious about how to level as Absolution, you honestly don't even need to be curious. It's just the same tree. You're literally going to follow the same tree. You're just going to have Absolution, right? You get it at level 12, and until level 12, you're going to use Summon Raging Spirits, which you get very early on. And then once you get to level 12, Absolution, you're going to plop that in there, and you're going to use, let's go back to the skills here. You're going to use minion damage, and you're actually going to use added lightning. And that's your 3-link, and then you're going to use Control Destruction instead of added lightning a little bit later once you get to Act 2. And then once you get to Act 3, if you get a 4-link, at that point you're going to add in, it's kind of probably up to you. You're probably going to re-add in the added lightning damage, I think is probably what's going to be the best thing to do there. And then once you get to Act 4, that's when you're going to be able to go ahead and use Summon Flame Golem. So that's how you level it up. Everything else is literally the same with all of your skills. You're not going to be doing anything crazy with Absolution. It's just that's the skill you're going to be using up until level 34. I wanted to mention that. But yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. I hope it is everything that you needed to understand how to play this build. I'm sorry that I don't have actual footage to show you guys. Like I said, pretty much nobody has played a Flame Golem build in many leagues. So there's not any footage to show you guys, but the proof of concept is definitely here. After looking at the patch notes, I mean, I think it's very evident that this is going to be a pretty solid build. So I was pretty excited about it. I am 100% going to be doing this build. It's not going to be my league starter, but I will probably do it as my like second or third build because I'm very interested in it. I think the playstyle of Flame Golems is very fun. It's very fast. And it's a lot of damage, so I think it's going to be pretty solid. I'm looking forward to it. If you guys do enjoy this build, you guys let me know in the comments. If you guys figure something else out as well, definitely let me know in the comments as well. I'm always open to you guys' feedback if you guys find something that works better. I love hearing that, so let me know. Anyways, that's all I got on this one, guys. Smash that like button, all that juicy stuff, subscribe, blah blah blah, algorithm stuff, do all that sort of stuff. Leave me a comment and let me know if you stayed the full time in this video. This was a little bit shorter of a video than my other ones. This was only 32 minutes. We're getting faster, boys. Alright, so that's all I got on this one. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will catch you in the next League Starter, which will be coming out here pretty soon. Thanks, guys.